Alright, so today we're going to be talking about all of Garou's forms, and he actually has like quite a bit of these, some more subtle than others. And since we've seen his newest form come out in chapter 127, I feel like it's a pretty good time to talk about all of the forms that we've seen throughout the series so far. So let's get into it. Hey, real quick before we get into it, I just wanted to shed some spotlight on Quiet Hist's Patreon. She does a lot of the thumbnail colorings for my videos and my chapter reviews, and she recently had just done some custom artwork for the channel as well. She's an awesome artist, and you should definitely check out her Patreon. Thanks, guys. So his first form, or I guess we could call his base form, aka Hero Hunter Garou, is the very first Garou that we see introduced into the series. And at this point, he's pretty much just a full-blown human, although still pretty powerful nonetheless. And a lot of that comes from his inherent abilities and potential, which is just, coming from his genetics and talent. And, I mean, numerous times throughout the series, he's called a genius, at least in the aspects of martial arts, meaning that he could just pick it up very easily and has way more of a potential to become excellent in that field than most of the people inside of the One Punch Man universe. And also, he kind of has like a Sharingan-esque ability as to where he could just pick up other people's fighting styles and just moves and techniques just by watching it. It's also said, like, sometimes he can just do it subconsciously. Like, yeah, he's pretty much broken when it comes into the territory of things like this without even having to tap into, like, monsterification and stuff like that, which he will, and we'll get into that. And also, for just being a human, he's pretty strong, pretty fast, durable, and has some of the best endurance in the series, also without having to tap into monsterization as well, which goes to show that he's just as inherently talented and just baseline genetic profile of like some of the S-class heroes as well. And this is the Garou that we see take on like Tank Top Master, Metal Bat, Watchdog Man, and Death Gatling Squad, and he'll go on to fight Genos. And it's during that fight with Genos when he's going to go into his next, which I dubbed Red Garou. So the moment when he snaps the tree in half after being tied to it by Genos and trying to avoid his blast, I guess he pushes himself further than he ever has up until that moment and starts to go into monsterization. And that's why we see his right eye turn red suddenly and his pupil changes. This is actually him finally starting to become a true monster, but of course not full blown yet. He's only scratched the surface of monsterization at this point, and his hair turns red because he runs his hands through it, which were covered in blood at that point. So it wasn't really like the monsterization that was changing his hair that color, but it was just a cool aesthetic and also a way to signify that Garou has changed. He has become something more than just human at this point. So he goes on to get destroyed by Bang and Bomb, but his new power that he's kind of tapping into at this point shows how far his endurance and durability has come at this point, because he's able to just push through almost being killed by Bang and Bomb, and is able to dig deep, both metaphorically and literally, and survive that, enough to be saved by Phoenix Man. And then when he's brought to the Monster Association and he's able to rest and recover, that's when he really settles into his new form and truly becomes what is known as Red Garou, I suppose. So pretty much all of his abilities that we went over in his Hero Hunter form have just been enhanced at this point, like strength, durability, and all of the baseline stuff as well. And he's kind of pushing dragon level in power at this point, because that we see that he's able to fight two demons simultaneously in Royal Ripper and Bug God, the latter being one of the strongest demons, if not the strongest demon the Monster Association has. This is like the equivalent of basically like fighting two S-class heroes at once, and he's able to do pretty good until, he's caught off guard by Terrio being in danger, and then he's, basically almost killed by Royal Ripper. I mean, Royal Ripper thinks that he literally killed him, and that's going to bring us to Garou's next form, which I guess we could call Red Garou 2, or post-Senkai Boost Garou, whatever you really want to call it. This is definitely a further upgrade to Garou's forms at this point, because after he's able to survive his near-death encounter with Royal Ripper, he receives a significant power boost and goes deeper into monsterization. And once again, his strength and abilities have all increased, but this time just dramatically because of the Zenkai Boost power mechanism, which is one of the strongest growth factors in the entire series. But not only that, he's also picked up a new ability in regeneration, because all of the cuts and damage that he's received from Royal Ripper have seemingly healed at this point, just after him waking up. And this, further signifies him going deeper into monsterization, because this is one of the perks that monsters seemingly get, from a full-blown transformation. But as we'll go on to learn from Garou, at this point, Garou is somewhere between human and monster. He's kind of like a pseudo-monster, if you will. He still hasn't let go of his humanity yet. So he's not like completely unredeemably a monster, but he still has the benefits that a monster would have, like with the strength, durability, and regeneration and things like that. So now at this point, Garou is like pretty much a full-blown disaster level dragon in power, because he goes to re-encounter Royal Ripper back at the Monster Association and just blows him away with one shot, which is a far contrast to his previous encounter with him. And he's become so incredibly durable at this point that he's able to take like point-blank blasts from Overgrown Rover and survive, as well as taking like heat beams from Orochi and surviving. It's really crazy how far he's come at this point. He's also able to just get stabbed by Orochi and that not really affect him. And this is when we're really starting to see that his abilities have increased so much, because during his fight with Orochi, he becomes stronger on the fly. And this has kind of been like a more recurring thing that we've seen throughout the series, but it's made more apparent by Garou, and it's just flat out said that this is a thing in chapter 127 in his fight against Darkshine. And at this point, he's going to go on to lose to Orochi. So now that Garou's unconscious, it'll bring us to his next form, because he's able to recover from this and grow once again. Now, it's really made unclear if he's undergone another Zenkai boost at this point. Like, did Orochi's beating push him close enough to death's door as to where he's going to gain the benefits of that growth the way that he did against Royal Ripper? Like I said, unclear, but he did receive, just a strength boost during his fight with Orochi nonetheless, so he has definitely increased in power at this point. And we also see him fight Darkshine in the beginning of their fight until he's punched and woken up by it. And then this brings us to, I guess, what we can call Red Garou 3. Because he's definitely stronger than Red Garou 2, since he's received the buff from Orochi and also the recovery and the experience factor going into that. And we see that this is, easily the strongest Garou that we've seen so far, as he's able to just manhandle Darkshine with like his counter kicks. He's able to survive getting blasted by Darkshine's tackle, which like takes down like, I guess what looks like a city block. I mean, it cracks his ribs, but it doesn't really affect him all that much, because he gets back up and is able to fight back pretty good. And it's at the end of chapter 127 we'll see Garou go into his next form, when he's able to counter the Super Alloy Bazooka, and it shreds most of his shirt that he's wearing, but we only see it connected to the bottom of Orochi's wound that he put in his abdomen, which healed using, his shirt to fuse with it. And this is where we see Garou's eyes both become monsterized, and his hair seems to change again, and I guess his teeth become jagged as well. And this is the furthest we've seen Garou go into monsterization at this point. I mean, maybe you can even consider him like 3/4 of a monster at this point. And this is the strongest Garou has ever been in the series at this point. Now, in order for me to go deeper into this, I'm going to have to go into webcomic spoilers, because the manga is only up to chapter 127 at this point. So if you don't want to know what's going to happen, I suggest you check out now. So this Garou, I guess we could call peak Red Garou or peak pre-woke Garou. This is like the strongest that Garou is going to be before he just completely awakens. And this is like the same Garou that we see just defeat Darkshine, just overcomes him using the Crossfang Dragon Slayer Fist. And this is also the Garou that we see just wreck Golden S, who's one of the strongest monsters in the series quite easily by that point, at least in the webcomic, and I'm sure he will be in the manga as well. But considering he's able to backhand him and push Golden S to go full power essentially and recognize him as being so unbelievably powerful, we could assume that this is Garou, maybe like the highest high dragon in the series at this point in power or something like that. But during his fight with Golden S, that's going to bring him to his next form, which is, I guess, his final form, you could say, and that is Awakened Garou. Now, it's really debatable as to what is going on with Awakened Garou, and if you would like a full, super comprehensive breakdown as to what is going on here, please check out my video, Awakened Garou Explained. But for now, I'll just say that it could be interpreted that Awakened Garou is what happens when Garou removes his limiter, because we saw in his fight against Darkshine at the end of chapter 127 that it says that his limiter is starting to break. So does Awakened Garou signify that the limiter has broken and now he is going into just full-blown monster, or still even pseudo-monster territory at that point? You know, with Saitama, we saw that he lost his hair when he removed his limiter. So with Garou, does this mean that he becomes awakened? Not really made clear. Hopefully in the manga that will clear things up. But at this point, Garou is, consensus above Dragon at this point. He destroys pretty much everyone he faces except Saitama. That's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Let me know what you think about Garou's form. Which one do you like the most? I personally like Red Garou number 2 the best, but they're all pretty awesome, don't get me wrong. But if you liked the video, please give it a like. My next video is also going to be about Garou. I'm going to be talking about all of his abilities and everything that pretty much makes him broken. But yeah, also I have a Patreon, gives you access to a weekly Q&A. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, and I'll see you